Denver Broncos Mile High View. No commercials, no bullshit. Well, it looks like the quarterback obsessing hype machine is in full gear. And oh my God, we're going to be picking quarterbacks in the first round. Quarterback. Monorail. Just keep up. Just repeat it over and over. You got to have it. Now, let's get real. People, let's get real. Let the Jaguars, let the Giants, let the Patriots, let all these teams and these mock drafts that usually mean jack shit for the most part, they don't mean anything. Let everybody get excited over these quarterbacks because, in my opinion, based on what'll be out in 2020, quarterback gods will be raining from the sky in 2020. It's the year of the quarterback. Let these other teams get their quarterbacks. These, in my opinion, are backup quarterbacks to better quarterbacks like let's say a John Elway, let's say a Montana, let's say, on and on and on. Dan Marino, Brady, but of course he was a 6th-rounder. But anyway, no, I mean, this is a defensive, you have really good defenders out there. So let them go for the quarterbacks. And how many teams will need a quarterback next year if these other teams, nobody's ever talked about this. They don't talk about this at sports talk radio. They get into the hype at the moment. They really don't think in a multi-chess, in a multi-chess board kind of a way. Anyway, so I want to talk about, I was going to say Kyle Orton. I want to talk about Case Keenum and the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to quarterback obsess a little bit here. So I think you draft your backup this year. There are quarterbacks out there that could become really good backups in this draft. I think it's a backup draft quarterback class. And I think right now you're trying to make your team more quarterback friendly. And if you look at the track record, go back to look at Montana. They really built the team and then inserted him. Then you take a look at the Patriots and what they were doing at the time. You had Drew Bledsoe. And unfortunately, I had to watch a lot of Patriot games between that transition time and onwards. But you had, you don't want to get into the Cleveland Brown mentality. The Cleveland Brown mentality is your team sucks, you're desperate, you go to you have this belief system because Sports Talk Radio told you so. They're hyping it up. That brand new shiny quarterback is going to work on your shitty team. You have a shitty team. We'll get to Case Keenum in a minute and where that all plays into. So you take a look at the Green Bay Packers. With Brett Favre, they brought in Aaron Rodgers. The Packers were a pretty good team at that time. Take a look at Kansas City bringing in Mahomes at that time. You can always bring a quarterback in at the right time. Why don't you build the team up and have it ready for a quarterback, to put in there. I'm going to get to Case Keenum here because I refrained from commenting on this because I didn't know, I wasn't really clear whether the Broncos, and I'm not 100% sure, excuse me, pardon me, I wasn't 100% sure that the Denver Broncos weren't going to go to free agency, but it probably is highly unlikely right now that that's going to happen because of Case Keenum. And for all you Case Keenum haters out there, Case Keenum, Case Keenum, if they're not going to go to free agency and get, somebody else to replace him, if you're going to go get a brand new shiny quarterback, you best keep Case Keenum. Because you need to build the team up, and if you want to be the Cleveland Browns and be 1-15, so you can get the shiniest quarterback, what usually happens with that? What usually happens? There are no Andrew Lucks out there this year. Okay, what usually happens anyway? you end up getting just a good quarterback, but in a crap system, and it never works out. So why not, build a team that somebody like Case Keenum gives him a chance, and if you bring in your franchise quarterback, you already have a pretty well-established team. That's kind of the successful model. It's not the Cleveland Brown model, bringing in one shiny quarterback after another. And even the guy that they got right now, that jury's still pending. As promising, it's probably the promising it is it's been for them in a long time, but the jury's still out. Now, sports talk radio in Denver they have no fucking clue what they're talking about, and fans that clamor to sports talk radio, they don't know what they're talking about either. Because I got sick and tired of hearing, that what happened to Case Keenum in Denver was Case Keenum's ceiling. No. What Denver Bronco fans have to understand is it's like this. If you smell like a distillery at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're probably an alcoholic or a drunk, okay? Most likely, okay? And it's just like, if you have a 5-11, 6-10 record, you're probably a crappy team. So Case Keenum's ceiling is taking a team to one game away from the Super Bowl. That's his ceiling. And what happens, and I knew this was going to happen, because fans have to admit, he went to a crappy team. So he reached his basement level because he was on a crappy team. It wasn't all on him. A lot of it wasn't. A lot of it wasn't on him. So if you, as an organization, can get a player, I mean, look what happened to Cousins. They're pissed off in Minnesota because they paid a whole lot of money for that guy, and he didn't even reach the treetops compared to, you want to talk about reaching the ceiling. He didn't even reach the countertops. Okay, Case Keenum took them further. But what Case Keenum serves as a weather vane for where your team is. Denver Broncos have probably one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. One of the worst. You can't get Bronco fans only a few seem to understand that, but everybody else can see that. Why do you think that they hired one of the better offensive line coaches in the league? Duh. And I was preaching that 2, 3, 4 seasons ago. They just let their offensive line go to shit, and your quarterback's going to suffer. Brady wouldn't have had the game he had against Kansas City if it was like a turnstile of defenders immediately in his face. You think that he would have that kind of game? No quarterback would. And that's same with Trevor Siemian. Well, maybe if you put Trevor Siemian in a different situation, maybe an offensive line, would have helped. Receivers that aren't hobbling around, this kind of thing. So, you have a heavy defensive draft this year. Heavy defensive. And why not go for the gusto? Why don't you go where the gold is? There's a cornerback named Greedy, and he's really good. And he would definitely be a great addition as a corner. But I say get the best defensive lineman, because right now that's deep too. Because I'm telling you, as playing corner, that your defensive line, if you have a rock solid, mean, really potent defensive line, it totally, tremendously helps on the backside. And the thing is, you're at the point of contact with that quarterback. If you get that middle pushed right into that cornerback or in that quarterback's face, and you got the bookends that the Denver Broncos have, that is a recipe of winning every time. So what's the next project? Well, you got to revamp that offensive line. You got receivers now. You got a veteran quarterback. You need to get a system going. You got a new offensive coordinator. You need to get some repetition going. You need to get a system in place. You need to get it's repetition. You need to work on that system. You draft in the young, and maybe Case Keenum does well enough that you'd even sign him again, and tutelage and start really developing a guy that can come in. I mean, Aaron Rodgers sat for 4 years. Mahomes sat for a year. I don't know how long Brady sat. He sat quite a while too. And then when he brought him in, if you talk to any of the coaching around him at that time, they really limited the playbook around Brady. That's the kind of thing you do. You don't do desperation moves like, I call it the Cleveland Brown effect. You're clamoring for every shiny quarterback like, oh, it's a princess quarterback. He'll wave his magic wand and, turn, pumpkins into carriages and, give me a break. He's going to make third down conversions with a wave of his magical arm of rocketness. It just doesn't work that way. So I mean, Luck it really is a talented quarterback, and then all his talent around him went to shit, and it just everybody saw what you saw. But they get their talent built up, and you got something going there. But I think that the Broncos should let all these other teams go for that first round draft pick of the quarterback. Don't do what everybody is doing at that time. Wait till 2020. Who else is going to need a quarterback then? Really. A lot of teams supposedly have their franchise quarterback. There's not too many that don't right now. You've got Denver as being one of them. They could be at the top of the list. They could easily move up and do like they get their Patrick Mahomes or, get any number of qualified quarterbacks, So that's the way I see it.